Hello, everybody. Scott Golden here with Golden Opportunities Coaching. Welcome to those of you who are new. Welcome back to those of you who are seasoned veterans of what we do around here. What we do around here is we do bring spiritual, psychological, and coaching related topics to the table for discussion. We do that through the form of audio, and we try and do that multiple times every day. Thank you to those of you who have been supportive. We've had an amazing growth month, and I'm super excited by that. Continue spreading the word. If we can get to 400 subscribers by the end of the month, I think that'd be really cool. More would be welcome, but let's shoot for that 400. So today we're going to talk about things that make us unhappy. So I've seen studies that say that upwards of 65% of people struggle with feelings of unhappiness on a daily basis. So that's nearly 2/3 of our population, and it's probably worse in impoverished areas, and it's probably worse in third world countries. So who knows? That could be even a higher number than that. But what are the causes of unhappiness? What are some things that are guaranteed to make you unhappy? And really, they're perceptions and patterns of behavior and thinking that lead to these things. And so we're going to talk about 8 of those today. Some of them kind of overlap a little bit, but I'm broken it down into 8. And I've worked with over 15,000 people in nearly 4 dozen countries. And these are things that I've seen that contribute in that way. So the first is worry. So human beings are engineered, biogenetically engineered, to have some degree of fight or flight syndrome, and worry is part of that process. When we feel we don't have control over something, we begin to be concerned about everything that could go wrong. However, excessive worry actually contributes to emotional, mental, and sometimes physical paralysis, as well as paralysis in decision-making processes. So one thing I work with clients on, and it's a difficult concept for some who are steeped in a lot of either traditions or belief systems that say certain things have to be so. But one thing I work with clients on is the concept that nothing matters until you make it matter. And you make it matter by giving it focus, by giving it your attention, by giving it your energy, your thoughts, and your emotional state. And so even the worst of situations don't have to matter with maximum impact if you choose to focus on something else. For example, and I'm going to use an extreme example. We just had earthquakes in the U.S. here a couple days ago that were pretty intense for lots of people, and there's homes that are destroyed, and there's, I think, lives that are lost, or even hurricanes or other natural disasters. Any catastrophe, really, we could look and say, well, I'm worried because what am I going to do, which is a natural reaction, and tempered worry, meaning worry in short spurts, is a perfectly normal human emotion. Consistent, focused worry, meaning that we worry for elongated periods of time without coming to a solution, is going to cause unhappiness, depression, anxiety, and a whole bunch of other things. And so even in the worst situations, as an abuse survivor, I can speak to every time I used to get beat or other forms of abuse, I would say, at least I made it through it. At least I'm still alive. And that was my anchor to go away from the worry. Look, there will be literally thousands, if not hundreds of thousands, of experiences in your life where you have no control over anything but how you react to your circumstances. And so to worry about what might happen, what could happen, what will happen next is actually a relatively emotionally reactive response that, depending on how much you do it, can border on emotional immaturity. Now, that's not to say every person who worries a lot is immature. However, your freedom of choice has not been taken away due to negative circumstances. Even in the worst of circumstances, you still have the power of choice to choose how you would deal with something. You may not like the consequences, but it's there. The next thing that will cause unhappiness is holding on to grudges and negative emotions towards others. Look, if an event has already happened, you cannot go back and change it. And focusing on it in the now will not bring you a better future. And for the most part, if someone's done something wrong to you, they don't care what it is that you think or feel. They're focused on their agenda, whatever that may be, whether that be protecting themselves emotionally, so they manipulated you, whether that be manipulating you because they think it's fun, whether it's because they are emotionally immature themselves. But there's numerous reasons why a person will take a negative action. In simplest form, hurting people hurt others, sometimes intentionally, other times not. But regardless, if you're holding a grudge against someone for an elongated period of time, you're going to be unhappy. You're going to be the emotional loser because it'll make you physically sick. It will make you mentally loop in a negative way. It will make you emotionally unbalanced. And really, you lose time and energy to something that isn't going to change, which isn't productive for anyone involved in the situation. The next is comparison. I call this the illusion of competition. So the illusion is based on the fact that we believe a fallacy that other people care what we're doing, and sometimes they do. People we care about and that love us care what we're doing because they want us to have a good life. Our boss cares what we're doing in the sense of did they achieve the objective we set forward. Our partner cares what we're doing because they miss us. So there are moments where people care what we're doing, but I would contend that in reality, most people don't care more about what you're doing than they care about how life is affecting them. Human beings, for the most part, are self-motivated, self-protective creatures. It takes a person to be deliberate to create an act of kindness. It takes a person to be deliberate to create an act of malice, and it also takes a person to be deliberate to think about and compare themselves with you. So while there are people that believe in and buy into the illusion of competition, you don't have to do that, because in reality, 90% of what you do may affect other people on a peripheral level, but it won't affect people on a profound level unless you're in deep relationship with them. And the comparison of, oh, they're better than me because they have their house paid off, or they're better than me because they're married, or they're better than me because they've got a better job or whatever. This illusion, it steals your joy, it steals your focus, it steals your time and your energy. So it really doesn't have a lot of long-term or short-term value. Next thing is expectations. We all have them. Even those of us who try to walk a spiritual or balanced path have expectations. But the simpler your expectations, as in something like, you will treat me well or I will leave you alone, versus you will treat me well because I deserve it, there's a certain level of expectation there that's unhealthy. While it's factually true that you deserve to be treated well and I deserve to be treated well, we cannot compel or control another person into doing what we want them to do. If we could, relationships wouldn't be at an all-time high as far as divorces and separations, and we would have more happy people. So when your expectations and your circumstances don't match each other, you will become unhappy, perhaps anxious or depressed, or a combination of all three. But it's either time when your expectations aren't met, it's either time to change your standards or change your focus. Change your focus if it's a short-term problem. Change your standards if you have unrealistic expectations or standards that are proving time and again hard for you to meet. So, and the next is and I'm gonna loop these together, the next two together: negative thinking and negative people. So there's three forms of social interaction: a positive interaction, a neutral interaction, and a negative interaction. So social interaction begins with our thoughts and then is flushed out to other people. If we are constantly pessimistic, if we are constantly in a place of nothing will ever go right for me, right? Eeyore is a great cartoon example of this. Woe is me, nothing will ever go right for me. And Eeyore doesn't seem to notice that he still has friends even though his tail falls off. And Eeyore doesn't seem to notice that even though his house might fall down, he still has people that loves him. So he's focused so much on the negativity that he can't dig himself out of his own unhappiness. You get what you focus on. And so if your focus is constantly negative, or if you surround yourself with people whose focus is constantly negative or limited by, well, we're in the ghetto, so it'll never get better from here. Well, we have to start over, and we lost all this money, or we lost this job, and nothing will ever get better. It's not to say that we jump from negative to positive. And the people that teach and preach that are just as goofy, at least to me, as the people who stay in the constant negative or constant positive place. Sometimes it's necessary to jump or migrate to a neutral position. Things could be better. I wish they were. Things could be worse. I hope they don't get any worse. When we go to a neutral place, then we can reset and choose positivity at a rate that works for us and fight against negativity. But to live at either extreme for an extended period of time, while it's possible, it's not very probable that that is a sustainable life model. The next thing, the misnomer that we don't have the power of choice in every decision. So, again, an extreme example. Let's suppose someone comes along and they hold a gun to your head. Even in that scary moment, even with your life on the line, you still have the power of choice. You can fight back, you can run, you can negotiate, you can surrender, you can hit them. You still have choices. Now, where people get confused is the concept that choices, all of them, come with consequences, and oftentimes we don't like the consequences. But the sense of entitlement that we should never have a negative consequence is another root cause of unhappiness. So there's two causes here. One, the misnomer that we don't have the power of choice in every situation. And two, the sense of entitlement that seems to be innate within human nature currently, now more than ever in human history, that says, I don't deserve to be uncomfortable, therefore I shouldn't have to go through any discomfort. Now, virtually no one, except someone who's sadistic, is going to choose discomfort. However, it happens to all of us because how can we, in a world full of polarities, how can we, in fact, truly embrace comfort if we don't know discomfort? In other words, how can we know the opposite? How can we know the good if we haven't ever seen evil? How can we know happiness if we've never felt sadness? Life is a series of polarities. And so, number one, there's never a moment where you lose your power of choice unless you are mentally incapable of thought, and then the idea of choice wouldn't matter anyway. And number two, consequences and choices are two separate things, and sometimes people forget to focus on that. The last one is we go back to negative patterns and bad influences. So we know when a person isn't good for us. We know when a relationship is toxic. We know when a family dynamic is abusive. We know instinctually and intellectually most of the time when something isn't right. But because we have this misnomer, and another huge misnomer that people have is that they can change other people, wrong. 100% wrong. You will not change another person. Their perception, their experience, their desire to be different, their desire to treat you better, their experience will change them. You can catalytically influence them, you can inspire them, but you yourself will never change another person, unless it's a baby and you're changing a diaper. But other than that, you will not change another person. And the idea that we go back into situations believing we have the authority and autonomy to change another person is foolishness that leads to unhappiness because we don't have that individual authority. And so that's where I want to close for this particular audio. I hope this has been helpful. Please comment below, like, subscribe, share, do all that good stuff. But until next time, keep your feet on the ground, your mind in the moment. Until next time, everybody.